a lot of people are exclusively mobile. The younger the user, the more likely they are to be 100% mobile. My team, anyone who's under 30, they don't even use a laptop anymore. They do almost all of their work exclusively, either on their phone or their iPad, which kind of blows my mind because I am old and I like my laptops. I find that fascinating. Most of buyers will go in and look for information before they make a purchase, and the first place they go is social media. Content marketing is one of the least expensive things you can do to promote your business online, and so many people are not doing it. I'd love for you guys to comment and let me know how many of you guys have a blog that you consistently use for your business. And if you are blogging, how many times a month do you post? I'd love to know that. Most consumers, 71% huge, if they like a brand, they're happy to recommend it. The worst thing, of course, you can have is someone who's unhappy who just doesn't say anything at all to anybody. That's to me one of the worst things ever. People will unfollow you. They're most likely to unfollow you if you're repetitive or boring or you're too salesy. And we're going to get into that. Actually, I'm going to talk to you about how many times a day to post. So let's go ahead and jump into the actual sins themselves because we have lots of ground to cover. Okay, missing contact information has to be my #1 pet peeve of all time. And I know that there is a generation gap, and that if you're 20, the thought of picking up a phone is horrifying. It's the worst thing ever. And for those folks who might be over 50, the thought of having to communicate through text or chat freaks you out. And that's totally okay. There's generational differences, which as a business, you should always have all the information available. And we just did a quick look to see this particular company we just randomly selected. They have no address. They have their website's not on. There's almost zero contact information for them. So as a business, you need to make sure you have all of your information that's accessible on all of your platforms. That includes a phone number. I know it's a new trend with some of the younger business owners to not provide a phone number, but if you're going to sell to someone who's over 30, they like to pick up a phone. Number 2, there's no strategy. This is more common than you think. People who, and I get this a lot, I was told, was one of our people in our office or our marketing person said we need to be on Instagram, so we're going to get on there. Okay, why? What's your objective? What do you want to do? And those are some of the very first questions we're going to ask. I want to know what your goals are, because if you don't have strategy or focus, there's no plan. And a lot of times there's very unrealistic expectations. People want to get to 1,000 followers in the first 2 months. And that is not always a doable scenario. You have a tendency also to see with no strategy, people get locked down on vanity metrics, and it's all about making money for your business or growing your sales funnel. So vanity metrics aren't really all that important. It's what works for your company. The third thing, you have to know your audience. And part of knowing your audience is understanding who your ideal client is. And I still get this shockingly more than I would like to admit, but you sit down to do a consultation to talk to folks about their social media, and you say, who's your best client? And they say, everyone, which is not correct at all. You have to be able to identify, is your best client a married mom that's got 2 kids who lives in Vestavia, who those 2 kids are toddlers, and they have 2 incomes for their home. That is an ideal client. That's an understanding of who your best client is. Or men who play golf, who are over the age of 55. When you start to lock down on your ideal client, it makes it so much easier to identify which platform works best for you, because each platform attracts a very different end user. The only real exclusion to that is Facebook, and basically the entire world is on Facebook. Number 4, you might not know everything you need to know about the platform itself, and that's not your fault. For the most part, these platforms change literally regularly. I don't know how many of you guys realize that Facebook's had a new facelift, because some people have it and some people don't. It's still being rolled out, and I have clients who are getting it, and it's a little shocking because it is so sparse. It's made to be streamlined, and it's supposed to be easier to use, but it's a very big change. So that's a commonality. It's important for you to understand the features. Something that a lot of folks still are not aware of, you can use video as your cover art on your business page. A couple of other features that are available on Facebook, I've just So you guys know, if you haven't hosted a watch party yet, it's a great way to repost your own video so that those people who missed it might be able to see it. And there are a lot of folks who don't know that that's a service. Publishing tools, you are now available to go into the Creator Studio on Facebook, and it allows you to schedule live videos. That's one of the coolest features ever, because it sends out a notification to your entire page that you're going to go live. And then even better, it sends a countdown. Karen's going to go live in 20 minutes. She's going to go live in 3 minutes, so that they don't miss your lives. And it's a great way to promote any of your scheduled live video. And of course now, surprise, you can schedule your Instagram posts directly from Facebook. That is awesome, because a lot of the second-party tools, if you weren't specifically logged into your own account, it wouldn't allow it to post. You have to go in there and manually push it. And this has really streamlined the process. So love this tool, and a lot of people are not aware that it exists. So if you're going to be invested in a platform, take the time to learn all about what it does. Number 5, you don't want to give your voice to the wrong person. And of course, that's my personal pet peeve, is posting the same thing from Facebook to Instagram. That makes me a little bit crazy, but we're going to talk about that in just a minute. This is an example of giving your voice to the wrong person. This was a huge issue a few years ago. Home Depot, I don't know if it was an intern or an employee, made a racial slur on one of their posts, and it's cost them, I don't know how many $1,000s and how many man hours to go back and personally apologize to everyone who commented and clean up that horrible, horrible mess, because they didn't vet the person posting well enough. It was a very bad experience for them. So you want to make sure whoever has your voice understands what your company is trying to say, and they say it in your the best way to represent your brand. It's okay to not be able to do everything. It is very unusual for most businesses to be represented on more than 2 channels well. Normally what ends up happening is they'll get started and then it's overwhelming. I can tell you, we do this for a living, and when we have a massive launch for a customer who has 2 or 3 platforms, it takes our team to launch, and it takes several days to do it. So if you're doing it by yourself and you're having to learn all this stuff, it can be tremendously overwhelming. And we don't want to overwhelm you. We want for you to make it easy. I kind of joke around and say, you have social media platforms like you have your children. You have one and you get really good at that one. And when you forget how hard it was to have the first one, then you do the second one. And that's the easiest way I can explain it. Get good at one before you add a second one. It just makes your life so much easier. So if you're on Facebook and that's where you want to start, and it takes you 90 days to master Facebook, take 90 days. If it takes you 6 months, take 6 months. But be comfortable enough in it that you can add the second one and it won't be so painful for you. And it takes longer than most people realize to create content and schedule posts. And if you need help, absolutely get help. This is just my personal life. I say, just to make sure I did it wrong the correct way the first time, I'm going to try it again just to make sure. And this is up here to let you guys know. Hold on one second. Don't repeat the same message. This is just one of my personal things that makes me crazy. And it has such a negative impact, and I see it everywhere. When you share the same information across all the platforms, it shows that you don't really have a strategy in place. There's not been a ton of research done. There's a lack of creativity there, and you're not going to get the results you want. If you have the same caption on Instagram that you do on Facebook, that's a very different audience. And I see this social media sin constantly. People will post on Instagram and they push it to Facebook. And any tags you have on Instagram, they don't work on Facebook. Facebook doesn't recognize those. So you're not tagging who needs to be tagged. And most people on Facebook, hashtags, they can handle about 3 of them. They can't handle 23 of them. So when you're pushing from Instagram to Facebook and you see a bunch of hashtags, you're wearing your end user out. So make sure it's okay to share information from platform to platform, but give yourself some time. If you're sharing an awesome motivational Monday post on Monday this week on Instagram, change the formatting, change the caption, and maybe 2 weeks from now, share it on Facebook. You don't want to do it on the same day. Not saying you can't do it ever, because you can definitely reuse your own content, always reuse your own content, but you don't want to share it in the same moment. I'm just going to take a quick second so you guys can read that, because this cracks me up so much. A lot of people don't pay any attention to their analytics. I had somebody ask me yesterday, what's the best time for me to post? Well, have you checked your insights yet? What are insights? So we went to look. We checked out her page, and you see it looks like a big fish. So you see when you start to ramp up. And a lot of posts on Facebook have a 2-hour shelf life unless they have activity, or unless you share them organically, they have about 2 hours, about an hour and a half. So when you start to ramp up, you want to give your audience time to see it. So based on this chart, I would tell her sometime between noon and 2, and then let's see how her audience responds to that consistent timing. And it tells you which days have the most people, and sometimes these days have huge gaps. If you're a business to business, then a lot of times your Monday through Friday is going to be much higher than your Saturday and Sunday. So this will tell you, and this is a Facebook insight, so it tells you when is the best time to post. It also tells you who your audience is. Not too long ago, I was working with a landscape architect, and we were running some ads, and he wanted to run them to men. Why? Well, because all the men, I always deal with men, they're the ones who pay. Well, it just so happened for his business in particular, the men might have been writing the check, but it was the wife who did phone calling, and that was their best audience for ads. And the easiest way for me to show him that was to show him the statistic. Yeah, you've got 2 men that follow your page, but out of these thousands of followers, we're talking about most of them are female, and you're targeting the wrong age group, because he was targeting like your 40 and 50-year-olds. I'm like, this is your sweet spot right here. And it's so much easier to show it if you just look at your insights. It saves you a lot of time and money long term. Okay, bad posts are everywhere. And there are several examples of bad posts. We're going to address them individually, and then I'm going to give you guys some action items that you can implement right now. I'm not going to read this to you, but I am going to show them to you. If you use the same post over and over, you're wearing your audience out. And one of the guiltiest industries of this tend to be realtors. And I'm not picking on realtors. I train realtors all day. Lots of realtors. But they'll do listing, and it wears your audience out. You've got to bring some content. This is a page we actually work with. It's a radio out of Huntsville, and they were posting the same, literally, this was their same graphic every single day, and then wondering, why aren't people looking at it? It's the same graphic. Why would they look at it? You've got to mix it up just a little bit. Using the wrong image. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. I'm sure some of you are aware of what this image is. This is the Challenger explosion. A very, it was a tragedy. Some of us were there when it happened, watching it live. The person who posted this wasn't born when this happened. And when they selected this image, they used it for a 4th of July post to represent fireworks, and had no idea what it represented. So it's very important that you use images that are not only copyright free, but say what you need them to say. Overposting. Some of the more recent studies will tell you once a day is plenty. Unless you have 10,000 followers, and 5,000 is normally where you start to see change. Unless you have 5,000 followers or 10,000 followers, once a day is plenty to post. Now, this varies, of course, from brand to brand, and I'm happy to share my opinion. I do have a client who has several thousand followers, and she can post twice a day because her followers are rabidly loyal, so they want to talk to her twice a day. Most businesses, once is all that it takes, which is good news, because when you start posting 2 or 3 times a day, that can be completely overwhelming for you to come up with content, but that's a lot of content. So people just get worn out when they see the same thing over and over and over. Being too salesy, so sorry for all of the used car salesmen in the world. There's a reason that you have that kind of stereotype. You don't want to come across as being too salesy. That's why it can't just be listing. You have to bring content. If you're too salesy, it's also considered boring, and you're more likely to be unfollowed by your end user. So you have to bring, first and foremost, you want to educate, inform, and entertain. So 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, it's like a savings account. You're putting in the savings. You're bringing the content. You're bringing the education. You're bringing the information so that you can turn around 20% of the time and ask for the sale. Now, it's totally okay to remind people what you do, let them sign up for your free stuff. That's an awesome idea. But you don't want to be so salesy that you wear them out. An ill-timed offer. This is one of the most unusual examples I've ever come across. Epicurious. I don't know why they decided this was a great idea. They took a lot of backlash for it. After the Boston Marathon tragedy, they came up with a lot of promotions and coupons that made no sense, made zero sense. Our hearts break. Here's a bowl of breakfast energy is just a terrible concept. And I have had local folks like tornadoes hit Tuscaloosa. We want to run a tornado sale. Absolutely not. Now, do you want to be a drop-off location for water or for donations for people who need that after the tornado? That is an awesome idea. But you cannot capitalize on someone else's tragedy by offering a promotion named after it. That's just maybe the worst idea ever.
Karen, we've got a question
Sure.
about the metrics. The question is the once a day metric for all platforms?
No, it is not for all platforms. It is for most platforms. Twitter and Pinterest are your exceptions. You can almost tweet constantly and be okay. You can tweet, normal for Twitter is 5 to 30 tweets a day, which is a lot. Pinterest, you want to do about 10 pins a day for a total of about 60 pins a week. For Instagram, for Facebook, for LinkedIn, once is plenty. And for LinkedIn, it has to be Monday through Friday. For Facebook, you want to follow your own metrics. So Monday through Friday for most people. But if Saturday and Sunday are big days for you, you may post Tuesday through Sunday instead of, or Tuesday through Saturday, be off different days. So Facebook is once, Instagram is once, LinkedIn is once. Any follow-up questions on that?
No, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please don't pick a fight. You cannot argue with crazy. It makes you crazy. So don't do it. This is a great example for those of you guys who watch Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. This company was on the show a few years ago, and they flipped out on public TV and then proceeded to argue with their entire fan base. This is the best one I could find because it's the only one I could find that didn't have obscenities in it. Yikes. Just don't do it. And if you are in business long enough, somebody's going to not like you. It's totally normal to get a negative review if you've been doing anything for more than a minute. And that's okay. You address it. If you know you're wrong, own it and ask them how you can fix it, but don't argue with it. It's okay to defend your position too. If they say, we came by and the store was closed, yes ma'am, we understand we were closed. We are normally closed at that time, our apologies, and then you just ask them how you can fix the problem. And there's an art form to how to handle negative reviews and bad complaints, but arguing with it is never a good idea. And as long as I've been doing this, I've only had 2 incidents in 12 years that call for a PR expert to step in. So most of this stuff you can handle on your own. Again, this makes me crazy. You struggle to get someone to engage with you, so be sure that you respond to them. It's very frustrating to engage with a brand and nobody responds. Let me back that up. And you don't have to go in and personally write this giant monologue for every single comment, but you do need to like them all. You do need to occasionally engage, answer questions, but acknowledge your audience is talking to you. That is frustrating. And one of the things I see the most when we go in to do any kind of audit, because we audit social media for businesses, you'll go into their Facebook or their Instagram, and there's all of these direct messages that have never been answered or responded or even opened, and people don't even realize they're in there. If you have a business page, you absolutely need Facebook Pages Manager. It's a free app that will notify you if you have a direct message, a comment, or a call to action on your Facebook or Instagram business pages. It's priceless. If you think no one's reading your social media posts, spell something wrong, because they are totally paying attention, and they will tell you, you spelled that wrong. 100% of the time, somebody will tell you, that's wrong. And you don't want to get overwhelmed. It is so easy to get overwhelmed. So if you feel yourself going down that path, then definitely get the training you need. There is a ton of free stuff out there. I have a bunch of free videos. I go live every Wednesday morning and I answer questions. And I have my whole archive is on my Facebook page. I write one blog a week. I have a huge archive, like 2 years of content. I talk about literally everything from getting started apps on Instagram to tools to schedule long-term to how to avoid posting fatigue because you get burned out on your own topic. So there's a ton of information out there for free. So take advantage of it where you can. Now, yes, ma'am.
Let me jump in with another question. What is a good source for demographic and psychographic profiles of different platform users?
We're actually about to talk about that a little bit. And I do have some stats. I actually have a blog post that addresses which platforms work for the best, which audience for which platform. And if the person asking the question will send me, I'll post my email information and they'll send that to me. I'll post them a link to that and it'll walk them through it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. So let's talk about action steps. Facebook, 3 things you can do right now that will improve your Facebook game are consistently be consistent. It looks terrible for somebody to go check out your Facebook page and your last post was from September of 2017. If you can't handle 5 times a week, do what you can handle 3 times a week. Just be consistent. You want to use striking visuals that get their attention. It's okay sometimes to use just text, but most people won't stop and just read text. They look at the pictures first, and if the picture engages them, then they read the text. And you want to respond promptly when you're engaged. Now, who's on Facebook? Everyone, the whole world. And for millennials to tell you they're not on Facebook, they are, because the statistics say they are. We're talking about 2.5 billion users, a very broad audience. It's almost equally distributed between male and female. Just the statistics for Facebook, it's almost always where you get started. Twitter, not my favorite. Just throw that out there, not my favorite. But it comes down to, on Twitter, the very best headline. People will not stop and read the tweet unless your headline works for them. You want to use a managing tool to schedule posts because there's so much. To be successful on Twitter, you need to be consistent, and that means multiple tweets a day. Like the least amount of tweets, if you're going to do Twitter, is 3 tweets a day, which is a lot. So you want to use a scheduling tool to manage those. I highly recommend Hootsuite. It's just like it sounds. Hoot, the noise an owl makes, is sweet, like 2 hotel rooms. It's free, and it has this very cool keyword tool that allows you to you program your keywords. It gives you a list of tweets that are related. You go down and check the boxes for which tweets work for your company, and then it will automatically resend those, retweet those for you at the perfect time based on your algorithm. It's very cool, especially for free. It's very cool. And all roads lead to Twitter. It's one of the few platforms you can feed into no fear. Pinterest, push your pins into Twitter. Facebook, push it into Twitter. You can push almost everything into Twitter because there's so much activity you can't overpost there. This audience tends to be, it skews. It's either very young or it's older. So you have an under 20 skateboard buying, male-dominated audience, and I mean male-dominated. Teenage boys love Twitter. And so you like young 20, and a lot of it's sports related. If you're into sports, if you sell sports equipment, you're a country club, Twitter's a great place to be. And then over 50, also huge Twitter audience. They skew male, lots of men on Twitter, not as many females. But for the men that are on there, a lot of them are college educated, which I find fascinating. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, of course, the business profile. So you want to make sure, even if you're not going to be super, super active on LinkedIn, you want to make sure that your profile is complete. Yes, all of your profile. We actually, again, we do audits. We audit for everything, and I think I have a checklist for everything. But make sure, and LinkedIn wants you to have it complete. So they're going to walk you, literally every time you log in, they're going to ask you, you haven't finished this one piece of information. Do you want to fill it in now? So just go through the steps and fill it all out. You want to, again, consistency is huge. And just so you guys know, 600 million plus monthly active users, but only 3 million people post content. Do you want to stand out? Are you job hunting? Do you want to make a sale or fill up your lead funnel? Post consistently. You're much more likely to stand out. You'll reach 60% of your unique audience if you just post 3 times a week, which is simple in concept. I know it can be a little overwhelming. Again, LinkedIn is a good tool to schedule those posts. And take advantage of groups and pages. If your best audience, if you're a nonprofit, there's a group on LinkedIn that is all about nonprofit administrators. Jump in there and be active and talk to those people. Don't forget your clients as well as your colleagues to be active. Of course, it's business to business, and it's where most people go for content marketing. So if you have an awesome blog that you've written, and there are some very amazing blog writers in this group, you guys write some incredible material. What a great place to share it, because more people are likely to see it. Content does very well on LinkedIn. Pinterest gets people just think, oh, it's for arts and crafts and recipes. Well, it is, but I can tell you it's our biggest referral tool, and we're on all the platforms. My company, me in particular, I have 5,000 followers, and we consistently get between 60 and 80,000 views a month to my Pinterest, which blows my mind. And consistently, and I mean super consistently, week after week, month after month, we post my blog on Pinterest. So my 10 unique pins that do the best, 7 out of 10 consistently are my own blog. That blows my mind, because Pinterest is such a great referral tool, and it's its own search engine. So if you're going to have Pinterest for business, make sure you have at least one board that's dedicated to just your business, super searchable descriptions. It's okay to have a little personality. If you're into golf, and I don't know why you would be, but if you are, you want to put that on there, do that. If you like to fish, if you're into dogs, whatever your thing is, it's okay to get a little personal on Pinterest. And have spaces dedicated just for you, like we have just a social you board. Pinterest is a female-dominated platform, easily 80% female. But the women who are on there have college educations. They out-earn your regular Facebook users almost 2 to 1, and they spend more money. So if you're selling a product, or you want to connect with a female audience, or if you're asking for donations, women with money hang out on Pinterest, and they spend their money on Pinterest. They get in there to get motivated and to get inspired to do stuff, and they spend dollars in there. It's just, it's really cool. Okay, I want to make sure I'm telling you guys the right stats. I'm double checking my stats. All right. Instagram is all about the hashtags. If you are not using hashtags, you are missing the boat. You can get so much more engagement if you use correct hashtags. Please, just a little side note, check all your hashtags before you use them. We worked with a florist recently who had a phrase that they used for sales. They'd been using it for years, so we went in to check the hashtag to make sure, and it was used in the adult film industry. So we had to stop that hashtag from being used on their company page and get them in a different direction with a more branded hashtag that works just for them. So there are adult themed things on Pinterest, so you want to make sure, on Instagram, so you want to make sure your hashtags are actually working for you. Great research tools for hashtags, so Hashtagify Me and Right Tag, and there's one more. And again, it'll come to me, and I'm happy to share this information with you guys. Have a blog post all about it. Get creative. You don't have to be so literal, and it doesn't have to be so polished. A lot of folks they want it to be totally perfect, and you've got the lighting behind you and the winds in your hair. A lot of the pictures that do well, that get the most engagement, it's just you. We have a no filter rule in my business. We don't filter a thing. So if you're working on my team and we're taking pictures for Instagram, there is no filter. I believe in transparency. I also firmly believe if I can do it, you can do it. You don't need a filter to do it. Just be who you are. And embrace the video. If you haven't leaned into video for your marketing for this year, you are going to pay the price for it next year. Speaking of video, yes, ma'am.
We had a couple of questions about hashtags. How do you check them, and how do they work?
Hashtags are like it's like a file folder. So all this information, and you think about Instagram as your file drawer. So hashtags are the tabs on the folders that tell you where to go look. The easiest way to check them is to plug them into Instagram itself and see how many people are using it. So if I use the hashtag for my name, everything that's associated with me, it's going to pull up so I can check and see. If I'm using the hashtag the Women's Network, I might get an entirely different business than what you guys are wanting it to do. That's why it's so important to check them first. But check it on Instagram first, and you want to use a mix, a little bit local, some specific, and then you use some broad ones. There's actually a method, like a recipe for really good hashtags that we could actually teach on for quite a while. I'm happy to share the information with you. I definitely have a blog post about how to research your own hashtags. You want to use somewhere between 8 and 20 per post.
Karen, what is your blog? What's the name of it?
Our website is that's so sad. I must be needing more sleep. Your social, the letter U.com. And it's just my blog tab right on there. And you can search by topic if you want to do Instagram. You just type in Instagram and everything Instagram related will pop up. I have a ton of information about Instagram stories and how to find the right hashtags. Because it is, like when we do it, it takes several hours to do the research. And we go through them one tag at a time. If you use a hashtag that only 2 people are seeing, it's not effective. But if 2 million people are seeing it, it's too used. So you have to get a nice Goldilocks, not too much, not too little, just right.
And that was yoursocialu.com.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll put it up on a slide at the end also.
Okay, and I'm putting it in the comments.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. YouTube is huge. It is its own search engine, and it is one of the very few platforms that can generate income for you just because people watch your stuff. If you don't have a YouTube channel for your company, create one. And if you're posting video already, please make sure they all have tags. No, it's just like Instagram. If there's no tag, Google can't find you. YouTube can't find you. So you can have the best video ever, but if it doesn't have any keyword search tags associated with it, nobody's going to come to it. And if you can add captions, do add captions because it's easier for your audience to be able to see the material. And the stats for video are shocking. Shocking. We're talking about billions of people watching video, hours and hours, millions of hours a day on every single platform, not just YouTube, but Facebook too. And live videos do really well. Like the stats are so high for video, they sound fake. I almost hate to say them out loud because it sounds fake when you tell somebody that there's over 1 billion people on YouTube on any given, seriously tremendous stats. So if you haven't had an opportunity to do video yet, I highly recommend it. I will tell you that social video generates, again, sounds fake, 1,200% more shares and views than text and images combined. That's huge, huge. Love video. Yeah, I've been preaching video for a year. You got to lean into it. If you haven't started using it, I highly recommend it. If you guys are interested in information from me, let me know. I'm happy to sit down and help you with any kind of service you need. And if you want slides, if you want information, this is my email. If you will send me an email to this email that says Facebook checklist, I'll send you a checklist for your Facebook page and you can go through it and do self-audit. If you want slides, I'm happy to share that with you too. You just have to tell me in the subject line what it is you need. I'm happy to send it to you guys.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. We got a couple more questions. Let's see. One is, what are some suggestions for someone who has no design skills?
Canva.
Yes, I use it all the time.
Canva makes you look like a genius. I am not a graphic designer. My entire team generates some of the most amazing graphics. They look so incredibly polished. None of them have a graphic design degree. That's not their thing. And they all started in Canva. Now, as you kind of develop and evolve, you'll go on to other apps that are more complicated. But at canva.com, you can do the free version, you can do the paid version. There's a ton of templates. I actually I've done training on Canvas. If that's something you guys are interested in, I'm happy to put something together just for the Women's Network, and show you guys how to use Canva, because it's such an amazing tool. You can use your own images. It allows you to use filters and put text and arrows and all that. Every single slide you saw today was generated in Canva, all of them.
Yeah, Canva's great. I put the website in the comments, but it's really an awesome tool. Makes you look great. Here's another question. We'd love to know the answer to this. Is there a surefire way to trend, like for an event? Let's talk about going viral.
No, I hate to tell you that, but no, there is no tried and true formula to make you viral. I will tell you the most viral things I've ever experienced were funny. We did a custom graphic for a realtor a couple of years ago where there was a man in a business suit in an inner tube in a pool, and he had his laptop in his lap working, and it said realtors on vacation, and it exploded. It got shared something like 900 times. So funny is more likely to trend than anything else. But it's hard to make it funny so that it does trend, if that makes any sense. All you can do is consistently, be consistent and talk about yourself on different platforms. So you can drive your own traffic that way. But it is, everybody, me too. I love it when our stuff goes viral. It doesn't happen all the time. It's awesome when it happens, and there's no formula for
it. Karen, here's another question. How do you feel about Instagram stories?
They're awesome. They are one of the most painful things to do because they take so long to create, and then they're gone in 24 hours. So if you want to really engage with your audience, Instagram stories is the way to go. We did an audit for a client who had something like 10,000 Instagram followers, but his stats were way down, and I asked him about stories, and he got a lot of pushback. So while we're sitting there talking, I picked up his phone and went in and posted a story, and he said, what is the purpose of that? You get 4 times the engagement on a story that you do on a post. So I said, just give it 24 hours. So the next day I called him because he didn't believe. The next day I called him. I said, how many people saw it? He said, 500. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why. Now, stories can be, they can be more polished or less polished. It's great to do behind the scenes. It's a great place to do text, testimonials. It's a great place to do tips. Just quick, pick up your phone, record yourself. Hey, here's a quick tip about my industry, about my business. But stories, the engagement is insane. It's like 4 to 10 times higher than a regular post on Instagram. But definitely save it. If you're going to spend all that time doing it, save it as a highlight so that you can keep the material.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions for Karen? We got 4 more minutes to pick her brain. Oh, Karen, you were talking earlier, there's a lifestyle blogger that I follow on Instagram, and you were talking about sort of like inappropriate posts. She had like this whole long post about some kind of like fashion thing, like what am I wearing? And you can do that snap thing to figure out what people are wearing. And then she had a paragraph, she was like, and next month is National Human Trafficking Month. Any ideas about how we can how we can honor that? And then she went right back to like her clothing and then like all the hashtags. And I was just like, oh no.
No, it's like
don't mix fashion and human trafficking or any other sort of terrible thing.
That's terrible. It's terrible. I totally agree. It's great to bring awareness to a topic that's tragic, that needs awareness, but you don't want to try to profit from it, because that just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. So yeah, I totally agree. That was very, very negative.
So Audrey, I have a question for Karen. Back on hashtags, seems to be there are a lot of questions on hashtags, and I'm going to go read your blog, so thank you. But LinkedIn also uses hashtags. People use hashtags pretty heavily on that. So is that similar to Instagram in the same way, or are there differences the way you hashtag for LinkedIn?
It's similar, but fewer. Like hashtags on Facebook, you would only use 3. Hashtags on LinkedIn, no more than 5 ever. And now even Pinterest is doing hashtags, so you can hashtag everywhere. But your big users are Twitter and Instagram, and you're going to have between 8 and 20. So to answer your question, absolutely, hashtags on LinkedIn is a great idea. Probably do about 3, and I'd make them branded. So like our hashtags are hashtag Guarantoradas, hashtag Stay Social Media, hashtag Social Media Management, because those are our big ones. So those are the ones we use. And then if we have something specific to Birmingham, we might have hashtag Birmingham, Alabama. So don't go crazy with a ton of them on LinkedIn because your audience isn't prepared for it. But 3 to 5 would be great.
And Karen, here's one last question. If a nonprofit wanted to do a live virtual tour, which platform would you suggest?
That's a great question. I would say where's your biggest follower base, because anywhere you do it, you can rip that video and share pieces or all of it everywhere. So if I'm going live, like if your biggest following, if your biggest foundation is Facebook, then you would announce that you're going to do it on Facebook, do a Facebook Live, and then once you're done with your Facebook Live, you can share it to anywhere. You can transcribe it and post it as a blog. You can pull the video down and put it on, rip it, pull the video off of Facebook and put it on YouTube, and then you can take little tiny pieces of it and put it on IGTV. So you want to reuse your own content constantly, but start with your biggest audience. I'd be surprised if it wasn't Facebook.
Well, thank you, Karen. I know we all learned a lot. I know I did, learned a whole lot, took a whole long page of notes, and I work in this every day. So, so yay, always learning things. That's the purpose of the Women's Network, women helping women on social media. Thank you again, Karen. Thank you to everybody that came today. Welcome to all our guests. We're glad you were here. If you're interested in membership, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to have you. And with that, we're not adjourned. Hold on. Our next meeting is August the 13th. Wait, I've got notes. And it will be Gail Lance talking about building your leadership resilience during constant change. And then on August 27th, we're going to have Donna Dukes and a guest, and they're going to talk about the Voting Rights Act anniversary and the Women's Suffrage Centennial. That's going to be a great program. Both of them will be, I know. And with that, this meeting of the Women's Network is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. It was great to see you.
Thank you.